Greetings, YouTube. Today we're going to take a look at a Stanley tape measure, specifically the LEVERLOCK in 16 feet. It's advertised as high visibility. LEVERLOCK tape measure, auto-locking blade, squeeze to retract. I recently had my tape measure that I use in my shop die on me. It came out and it never went back in. And I had picked it up at an estate sale for a song, so it really wasn't really worth anything to me to bother try to take it apart and get it and fix it. So I'm just going to toss the thing. But I liked the way that the measuring tape functioned, and it was a little bit bigger than I needed. It was a 25 footer. I really don't need a 25 footer in my shop. And it was also just a little thicker here and a little bit bulkier here. So I thought I was looking for something a little bit smaller. So I went to the big box store and I just started taking them off the shelf and checking them out, and there's some really big bulky tape measures out there. I was really quite astounded. Let me actually grab something real quick. So it's right here. Here we go. This is the tape measure I want to talk about as a reference. And you might be asking, well, why don't you just take this one in the basement? Well, this one is actually kind of special. This is a Service Star. Anybody remember Service Star? It's a 12-foot power tape. And this is more of the classic tape where it locks like this and then it unlocks like that. This one belonged to a friend's father. He was put into a care facility when he was 90 plus years old, and we had to put like everything he owned that he hadn't taken with him into a dump skip. And it was heartbreaking to see an entire man's life end up going to the dump, but it did. But this, along with a classic hammer for like wood carpentry, I kept because I could use the hammer and I could use a tape measure. And I recently posted this on my Instagram, and my friend got a smile out of it because she recognized the tape as her father's, and I did mention that it had been his. And I use it all the time. It's why it's right out on top of my toolbox. It's the one I get whenever I need to measure something in my apartment, grab that, measure it, put it back. But this does use the classic thumb-activated tape measure lock. So again, lock, unlock. Some of the more modern ones will come out and automatically lock, and then you pull them up and they'll retract. They have a toggle quite often. And the thing about this is that it's thumb activated. Well, I've been in manufacturing for, by the time you see this, 39 years, and my thumbs don't work so well anymore. I wear a brace on this wrist a lot. It's been hot lately, so I haven't been. Quite frankly, having worn it for over a year, it's really done quite a bit of good. And my left thumb is actually doing quite well, and my right thumb is kind of showing some wear. So I may have to get myself a new brace for this one, because the brace I currently have just isn't quite as supportive as the one I have for my left. So I may see if I can shag down a copy, the similar brand for my right hand, because they're not universal. They're, made for the two hands. But this one doesn't have a thumb lock. This one does this. You can pull out on it, automatic lock. You can also unlock it, bring it out. But like this, I'm not using my thumb at all. And that right there, for me, is a game changer. And I get a feeling that I'm not the only person in the world that has a problem using their thumbs. And having a tape measure that you can use like this, or even pressing down on it on a table. So on an object you push down, you can pull it out and push it back. This could be used for people who have even less mobility than I do. And that's important. I wouldn't recommend letting it snap. Okay, it's not good for tape measures because it's not good for the spring, and potentially you snap off the blade and then it just retracts and you don't have a tape measure anymore. I don't recommend doing that. I know that it's tempting to go because it makes that nice little sound. Yeah, don't do that. It's not good for your tape measure. But this is functional. Wasn't expensive. I think it was $7 for this thing. High visibility, which is also useful if you're going to be working outdoors or you're going to be working on a job site. Having something that's not going to be blend in with the dirt on the ground. Lots of folks have stuff like this. They don't mind using stuff like this. This is a reasonable size, and for me, this lock is bearable. It's small. All right. But on those bigger locks, a lot of modern ones, particularly on 25 footers and up, I can't do it. It hurts my hand. The one I had in the basement was a toggle, and you only had to unlock it. You didn't have to lock it. So most of the time, it was only uncomfortable half the time when I was putting it in. This one right here, not uncomfortable at all. My thumb doesn't even notice it. I am so happy I have this. So I know it's not a name that means made in America anymore, and that matters to some folks. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me, does a piece of gear do what it needs to do? Does a piece of gear offer me something that another piece of gear doesn't? Right now, I'm telling you, this Stanley LEVERLOCK is offering me something that no other tape measure I have ever used has offered me. And that is, I can unlock it by pinching it, and I don't have to use my thumb. And that is very darn important to me. So it may be important to you, or you may know someone who it's important for. I don't know how many sizes the LEVERLOCK comes in. I apologize. I should have checked that when I was there. I was just so thrilled I got a 16-footer for like $7. I'm like, ooh, great score. Then I went and scored myself some quarter 20 threaded rod because I use so much quarter 20 threaded rod. You'd be surprised. I make bolts all the time. So yeah, go get yourself one of these things, man. It's a game changer. Even if you don't have mobility issues, you may appreciate it if you have to take a lot of measurements over the course of a day. All right, if you're doing a lot of measurements, this may be something that just makes your job easier. That at the end of the day, your hands hurt a little bit less. And isn't that worth $7?